Honduras, kids go to school until they're like 8 years old and then they start working.
What?
Kids have to go to school. Like that's the only way to break the poverty cycle. Persons that work in coffee farms, we see that 70% are women. They're the most vulnerable in Honduras, but actually they're the ones that work the hardest. For me, it's like a mission to empower these women.
Through traveling, I meet inspiring people who have lived or traveled anywhere, collected great stories, and have a unique view of the world. I'd like to call them world citizens.
Perfect.
All right, here we go, finally. This is my friend Alejandro. Alejandro and I have met each other like 4 years ago.
4 years ago, 2019.
In Cambodia. And then after that, he traveled with me and Josh, whom I was with back then, to Laos, and we were like the three musketeers. So, and ever since then, I have been following you a little bit. We stayed in touch.
Yeah.
And I really, really always thought you are a very inspiring person. And I thought, you know, I had this little idea of a podcast kind of interview thing, and you are the perfect first candidate, I thought.
Thank you, that's an honor.
Yeah, and of course I already know a bit about you, but we're still gonna talk about things that I already know about you. So, can you tell me a little bit like who you are and where you're from? Let's begin like with the basics.
So, my name is Alejandro. I come from Honduras.
And how old are you?
I'm 26 years old.
Yeah, and you turned 27 this year, right?
I turned 27, so
yeah.
Now I live in Scotland. We actually are in Scotland right now.
Yeah, we're in your garden, which
we're
is
in the
lovely.
garden. A little bit windy, but yeah, I come from a tropical country. Like Honduras is like quite hot, and coming here, it's like what is the minimum temperature in Honduras is the warmest here.
Yeah.
So
okay, so you're from Honduras and now you live here. Can you tell me how you end up here? Like, why are you here for?
So this is like a little long story, but I'm gonna like put it short. It has been 10 years that I have been abroad. So my first time I went outside of Honduras, it was when I was 16.
Yeah.
So I did an exchange program in France. So I came from never going abroad to being 16, being with a French family. Did my high school there. It was completely different. It's a different change, different family. I stayed there for a year. Then I got a scholarship. I went back to Honduras for a year, finished my high school, got a scholarship to go to Taiwan, study there 5 years, study Mandarin, and then 4 years of my bachelor's. Then I went back to Honduras for a year. It was COVID. I got a scholarship during COVID. So I went to Manchester, stayed there for a year, worked for a year, and now I'm based here in Scotland for work.
That's a very good short summary of where you have been. Which I find so amazing is that like you have had, you tell like the most normal thing in the world, but it's actually quite special how you got here. Because how did you end up getting a scholarship? That's quite hard, isn't it?
Is it hard? And I think because Honduras and Taiwan have like relationships, and like we are like 20 Honduran students that go to Taiwan each year. So I was really fortunate that I like had the grades and I had like the profile that they were looking for, and I got this like full scholarship to study in Taiwan.
You went even on national TV when you got the scholarship for Manchester, right?
Que nosotros, los becarios 2020, vamos a utilizar para cambiar a Honduras. Muchísimas gracias.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how that went? And because it was a big thing in your country.
Yeah, it was a big thing in my country. So I was really fortunate. I got a scholarship to come to the UK during COVID. So it was the presidential scholarship, meaning that the president of Honduras, with his hands, he gave me the scholarship. And it was one of my proudest moments ever. Like at that time, we couldn't do like a big ceremony. I was invited to the president's house. And actually, like, he gave me a scholarship. I had to do like a national speech, which I was aware 2 hours before.
But you did it on television, right?
I did it on television, and everybody was watching, and it was like such an amazing experience. Like, I think about a moment, it was of the proudest moments I had, because it's like, how can this even happen during COVID? Normally, people wouldn't have any type of things going on. I had like my scholarship, I moved to Manchester, I was like in the UK.
And you were one of the 5 of the selected one? Like there were 20 people writing an essay, right?
So there were 20 people, 5 who were selected, and from those 5, I was selected to do and deliver the presidential speech.
And I remember I saw you on LinkedIn with the television video you shared, and I was like, oh, Alejandro. I am so proud of you. I can't even describe it. And now you have a bachelor in Taiwan. You did it perfectly. Speaks fluent Mandarin as well. And then did a master's in Manchester. Now you just work for JP Morgan and starting your own business. I cannot describe how happy I am for you. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today is because I feel like we're alike. We like both entrepreneurship. We know what we want from life. We have a lot of ambition. I thought it would be nice to like ask you things about how you look at life and why you started it. So can you tell me a little bit about your future business?
So I have a future business. So basically back home, my family has a coffee plantation. So when I was a kid, I grew up in coffee, basically. We have a little farm that it's like almost 40 kilometers outside of Tegucigalpa. And since I was a kid, I was like really exposed to coffee. Actually, we had a coffee shop in Honduras, but our coffee is like specialty coffee. So that means that our quality, it's so good that we export it to the US, and now we're focusing in foreign markets. So I did it first, and me and my family did it in the US. And when I started my master's in the UK, I did a master's in innovation management, entrepreneurship. And my project was how to start a business here in the UK. So that's why I started talking with coffee roasters. And that's like how I first, this last year in 2022, we got part of our bags here in the UK for a contact that I did during my dissertation.
Yeah.
And basically the project consists in the empowerment of communities and women in what is in Honduras, and then expand in Central America and Latin America.
Yeah.
And basically it's working with the community, working with women, empowering them, and doing that through coffee. So focusing in a lot in what's like the communities of coffee.
Yeah, and that's, I think it's a really nice story because you have shown me some pictures and videos how people work together there as a community, that the coffee is actually one of the things in your country that really helps and give people like chances, right? And so my first question yesterday was, why women empowerment?
Back home in Honduras, our communities actually, many of the people, if we see all the population of persons that work in coffee farms, we see that 70% are women. Women have children. They're the most vulnerable in Honduras, but actually they're the ones that work the hardest. So seeing that, for me, it's like a mission to empower these women, because coffee, as we were talking before, it's just like a seasonal thing. So it's from January to April, and these communities have like income because of coffee. But what happens when coffee is over? They have to find other sources of income. So that's where the empowerment of women is. Like, after coffee, what can we teach them? What can they do? How can they create their own entrepreneurship? So of course, this project has a lot of like different steps. We're in the very initial stage, that is like first with coffee, but definitely it's like, how can we teach them to have another kind of income when there's no coffee, or like it's off the season of coffee?
And how do you do that? Do you already have some things to teach them, to help them outside of this coffee season?
So as we said before, like Honduras is like slowly going into tourism, teaching them how to do like bracelets, teaching how to do necklaces, like putting these people in touch with other people that are currently doing, so they can have like their small businesses, their smallest entrepreneurship. The communities that we are, for example, our coffee farm, it's Lepaterique, so it's really agricultural, but many of the problems is like these people, they know how to be in agriculture because the things that they taught them before, but not because they have like a education or like someone that comes and teach them, and with all the environmental changes.
And that's what you do?
That's what we do, yeah, correct.
So you're not only like a coffee owner with your family, but also like a community maintainer in a way, right?
That's correct. With my brother, Miguel Giron, he actually is he's the person responsible of empowering the community. Like, for example, he's really in touch with all the people that we work with. For example, last time we had a project with one of our partners in the US. The coffee is called Coffee Stamp, and together we there's this school in the community, and we went and painted again, built more classrooms, uh, do like renovate the toilets, give kids like bags, give them like everything for school. Because our reality is like in Honduras, kids go to school until they're like 8 years old and then they start working.
What?
It's a different reality, and one of the things that we want to stop is like kids have to go to school. Like that's the only way to break the poverty cycle through education. So it's one of our things that we're focusing on.
That's so great. And where do you get these things from? Like, for example, the bags. Like, do you just buy them yourself? Do you collect something?
So
Raise money?
So how we raise money is like through this partner. We sold coffee to Coffee Stamp, and in the US they did this, that for every bag that they sold, they would give like 5% back to the community. So after 2 years of doing that, they actually came back and they said like, this is all the money we raised. It was like 10K US dollars, and with that money, like him, his brother, my family, and other people in the community used that to buy all the materials. And we got some pictures that we can share as well with you, and like empowering community. You see that kids like really happy. They have like the new infrastructure in their school, so that's like a really nice.
I really feel like you're a game changer in your country. For like, you really, really, really look after the people. And what are the reactions you get out of the kids and the people that you help? Like, how do they respond on your actions?
A lot of gratitude. That's what we have. A lot of gratitude. And as I'm telling you, this comes with a lot of steps. That we're still in the really initial part, and that's why like we use like this type of channels, you know, to tell the people what we're doing, how they can help, you know.
So, can you tell me a little bit about in Honduras, what the average salary is, for example?
Yeah.
Like, how is the economy?
So the average salary, I would say, that's around £300 per month. So as you can see, with inflation skyrocketing, £300, like in a country, of course, it's cheaper than Europe. But actually, it's really sad, the conditions in Honduras, because the no average person cannot even buy the grocery shops because it's too expensive. So that's one of the realities in Honduras. Like, for example, during COVID, for example, in European countries, they had packages that government would help the people that were like employed in different industries, that they couldn't have like work and go to, you know, like restaurants, everything like that. Governments would help these people, given, like in the UK, they gave them 80% of their salary. In Honduras, all these people didn't have a job, and it's really sad that our government didn't have the money or the conditions to do that. So yeah,
That's insane. And what about you? Let's go a little bit back in time. So, did you have the same experience as the kids going to school to the age of 8, or were you privileged to go longer than that?
So I was privileged, as you may know. My family, we come from an entrepreneurship background. My dad had his coffee farm. He has like his business. So I really had like a privilege that I could go to a bilingual school that taught English as a first language.
Oh yeah, I forgot, but you did that, which is amazing.
That's amazing, but that's not the reality of the normal Honduran person. I was really lucky that my family could provide to go to a private school, that I could like learn English since I was a kid.
But can I then, like, I don't want to paint you off as that, but can I call you then the rich kid of Honduras? Is that like a bit how foreign people would look at the situation?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
I think that we are like a really working class middle family, but in comparison with the rest of Honduras, we have like a business. We are running it. We're really fortunate of that.
But it didn't start that way.
It didn't start that way, no.
Can you tell me about how the coffee plantation, plantation, how it started?
So it almost has like 100 years that my family has been in coffee. So that means that we started with my grandparent and his parents. So it would be my great-great-grandparent, who had like this farm in the middle of Honduras called Lempira. And then they taught their kids to be in coffee farm. Then my grandpa teach his kids, which is my father and his brothers, how the coffee works. And normally how coffee works is that you sell it to like New York Stock Exchange. So prices are really volatile. So we were not specialize in specialty coffee, that it's like our main strength. So in the coffee industry, you have commodity coffee, you have premium coffee, and then you have the highest grade of coffee, which is specialty coffee. And there's where we are.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's like different type of stages.
So you can say like, we have the fancy coffee.
We have the fancy coffee. We have the fancy coffee, and we're like exporting it to Europe and the US. But how my dad started was like, he came from a coffee background. He was like working, he was an engineer, he was like working in the national electricity plantation of Honduras. And he had 3 kids. The difference between me and my brothers is 16 years.
Yeah.
So there were like 3 kids. My mom and my dad, they couldn't pay the bills. So my dad had 2 jobs, had 3 kids, had a wife, and
couldn't pay the bills.
and they couldn't pay the bills. So what my mom and my dad started to do, they went to Panama and they start buying things in Panama, and then they start selling it in Honduras. And then my dad, because he comes from a mechanical engineer perspective. Do you know the games that we see like in like the Sega games, when we go like we put coins and then we play
Yes.
with this machine?
Yes.
So my dad, because he was an engineer, he bought all the different parts in Panama. Then he went back to Honduras, he built it himself, and he was the first person in Honduras to put all these machines in different like little stores.
Really?
People would use coins, and then at the end of the month he would recollect, and that was the way that he could maintain his family. And then he invested in different stuff. Then he bought his coffee farm, then he bought his different businesses. But actually he became an entrepreneur not because he wanted to, like for example for me and you want to become entrepreneurs because we saw an example.
We like it. Yeah,
We like it. We want to work for ourselves. But actually my dad did it because of necessity, and then now he's working in his own.
Yeah, that's so amazing, and it's very similar to my mom's. What I talked
Yeah.
about before, that she, out of necessities, also started her business. And it's don't you think it's a privilege to have that as an example, but also know where they came from? Like, we're not born into wealth or the family business, but we have also experienced, maybe you didn't as much as your brothers, but like you hear and see and feel the stories of your parents, that you really have to work hard for what you want, you know? And I think that's really, really cool that like I said, for some reason we are very similar in like stages of our life. So I remember we met in Cambodia and we were just graduated, we're finishing school, and we're both like, oh, what are we gonna do for the rest of our lives? Where are we gonna work? We're like a bit lost, and you had the same. So we're like, oh, bonding. Can you tell me where you work? Because I'm quite proud of you.
So I work for a bank here in Scotland.
Not just a regular bank.
So it's an American bank called JP Morgan. So I got my job. That's why I moved here. But I come from a different background. Like my background is actually e-commerce.
Yeah.
Which I really love. I was like really fortunate that my first job was in e-commerce, that my second job was in e-commerce, and I love everything that has to do with electronic, like
The online.
online retailing, everything. That's like my real passion.
Yeah.
But then this opportunity came to work in the bank, and I was like, I have no experience in finance. I have never thought that I would work in a bank. The opportunity came, and I was like, why not? Like, this is
Yeah.
something different.
And that's what I really like, because we're now, I remember like just a couple of months ago, you were still working at the other company, and I was still working 2 days a week for a watch brand in the Netherlands, and then freelancing for myself. And then we were both like, oh, we're starting a new job, and you working at this big banking company, and me telling I work for Talpa. And then we were like both, oh, look at us, we're getting into like the same stages in life again. We're like starting this, and then on the side we can like do our own fun projects. And I feel like in some way we're connected. So it's very nice, like maybe we could, from 5 years on from now, we can like look back and see and we're still on the same page. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it would be fun to like look at this interview back
then
then
see-
and see how this, like in 5 years we have grown so much. I cannot imagine what's gonna happen in this like 5 years for both of us. Like,
Yes. But I feel like we're gonna be like working together a lot somehow. I'll help you, you'll help me, whatever. But I'm looking very, very much forward to what's to come. you went out of Honduras for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Why did you move abroad?
Why did I move abroad? So that question is like has a lot of things in it. I moved to Honduras when I was 16, and
Which is so young.
it's so young. Like I can like I give it for granted that I like left Honduras and this and you know, but I left when I was a kid, like 16 years old, living in a French family, moving so far from home, first time abroad. Like I have never gone outside of Honduras. That was my first experience ever. So I think that when I came back, I really wanted to taste the world. I was thinking about like, I want to move to Asia. I want to go to Europe. And I was really lucky that I had a full scholarship to study in Taiwan. But I wanted to taste the world. Like after that experience in Taiwan, it's like, there's so much to see, different experiences, different things. So that's one of the reasons that I moved abroad, because like I really wanted to have like a free lifestyle, to marry, to love whoever I want to love. But of course I love Honduras. Like every time that I go back, it's like it's my family. It's part of me, my community. That's like where I grew up. So
A family means a lot in Honduras, right?
yeah. My family means everything, and I think that one of the things that I really miss is my family after being 10 years abroad. You say like every time that I go back, my nephews are like older.
This high.
They're like, yeah. Then my mom and my dad, they're getting older. My grandma, she's like almost like 93. So
Do you get emotional sometimes about it?
so I think that when I'm abroad, I don't like. I know that I miss them, but I don't think a lot about it. But when I go back home and I see like my nephews that they're huge, I see my parents that are getting older, I really think like, oh my God, I miss this like so much. I'm part of their lives, but not in a full-time basis. I'm
Yeah.
like, I go and see them every year. I stay with them for a month.
I feel like the same with me. My dad. He lives abroad too. He moved back when I was 10 years old, back to Denmark, where I'm from half. And I feel like every time we see each other, I see him like getting a bit more gray, sometimes gain weight a little bit more. I'm sorry, Dad. But I mean, and he probably has the same with me. Like sometimes I have long hair, sometimes I have short hair, and like change a lot being a woman suddenly. I feel like it feels like you're skipping through a lot of big parts, and like if you would see each other every day, you wouldn't notice those things. But it really can be confronting, right? To see them suddenly older, your nephews or parents or so. Yeah. But you don't think about it as much unless you're there. What about moving back? Is that ever an option, you think?
I think not now. I think that I want to build my career and my company here in Europe. But definitely, I want to have like, when I go and like my business is like full running, that I can be like full time like in my business. I really want to have like the flexibility to be like 6 months in the UK, especially when it's summer, like not winter. Definitely like when there's a lot of sun, when there's like when it's like the days are like longer, so probably from March till like September. Then I want to do 3 months in Honduras, like having my little house in Honduras, my little flat, to stay 3 months in Honduras and 3 months abroad, you know, because that's one of the things that actually bonded us a lot, that we have, of course, that entrepreneurship, the dreams, the startup and all that, but as well that we're citizens of the world. And I think that's like really, really important.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Citizens of the world. I'm not from the Netherlands. I'm not from Denmark. I'm a citizen of the world.
No,
I'm gonna keep this one.
no, and you know, it's like something that it's so cool, because like you're not from one place. I don't feel that of course I grew up in Honduras. I'm from Honduras, but I feel that I'm a little bit of everywhere, you know, like we're like all of like now, like I feel like I'm a little bit part of like Taiwan, a little bit part of the UK, like from Honduras. So yeah,
I admire that a lot about it, that you can just like pick your bags up and then start somewhere. I'm the same, But I know it's not normal for everyone to leave everything and just start over and over and over again. And there's so much more to see. Why stay at one place? And I really admire that about you. So I just wanted to say that.
And like for us, it's like really easy to like pack and I don't know, whenever you speak with your family, but that's what I have when I speak with my mom. She's like, she cannot keep with me because I'm like, oh, I'm going to Italy for a weekend. I'm going to Ireland for a weekend. I'm going to Manchester. I'm going to do this trip. And my mom is like, can you just be home and stay there and not do anything? And I'm like, I have to do something.
I have to move.
I have to move. And I think it's part of like our generation. And like when we met in Laos, that was like that both of us were like so hungry for like going abroad, doing this, doing that. So
you told me, and I thought that was really funny, that you were very shy as a kid. You told me this yesterday, and I was like, what? You're not shy. But can you tell me, like, how were you as a kid, and how did that develop?
So actually everything happened in France, and I think that, like if I see a moment that changed me forever, it was the moment that I went to France, because I was a kid. I was like from Honduras. I had like all these ideas and culture that were integrated in me. And when I went to France, all of that changed.
Yeah.
So when I was in France, like I was like telling you before, like in Honduras, I was like shy. I didn't speak to people. I would blend in, like like I would be the person that I don't wanna like when we have in school, like the popular group, the loser group. I don't want to say like the loser word, but this type of group. And then you have the people that nobody knows who they are, so that the ones that just blend in and nobody wears. So I was that kind of person.
Yeah, like a wallflower.
And then France, people didn't speak to me, like I didn't know the language. So I was like, if I want to make friends, I have to learn French. If I want to have friends, I have to go there and put myself there, and I cannot be like blend in, because if not, this exchange program, it's gonna be like what I want to,
Yeah.
So I think that at that time, my family helped me a lot. I was outside of my comfort zone. I was long from Honduras, so I can really reinvent myself.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about being abroad, right?
Yeah, and you can be at yourself, and then when I went back and that helped me a lot. And when I went to Honduras, like even my family couldn't recognize me, like, oh, what happened to you? Like, why you're so extrovert? Like, you're what was like?
What did France do to you?
What did France do to me? And definitely, I'm always grateful with my host family that live in France of that experience, because that really was like the changing point for me. And it's so special because it was like when I was so young,
Yeah. I mean, if I would have asked my mom if I could study abroad 1 year at my 16th, I think she would have said maybe, probably no.
Really?
Yes. Or like, I think she thought it was a bit young. I was allowed to go to Thailand when I was 17 with a friend of mine who is Thai. But like that was already like, ooh, my baby girl. So I think it's so cool that your parents just were like, go spread your wings, like do it.
Yeah, and it's funny because my parents, they're not travelers. They're like the complete opposite of me, My mom and my dad, they're like, why would we like to go abroad if we're happy here in Honduras and we have our house and everything?
Yeah.
So yeah, like they're like this kind of people, and then I'm like, oh no, I want to go here, go there, yeah.
Do you think the traveling part changed your perspective on life? Like, do you wear different glasses? We say this in the Netherlands, like looking through different glasses because of the traveling?
Definitely. I think that whenever you travel, you meet so much like interesting people, like for example, that's how I met like you and Josh at the time. And like, we were like in a group of 5 persons, like one from Germany, one from France, like you two from the Netherlands, and we came from different places. We, of course, the same common denominator was like traveling, but we were like so different in so many different aspects. We were completely different.
Yes.
But just like being outside of your comfort zone, like all this is like brings so much to you.
What does it add to your life? Like, if you had to name 3 things, what would you tell traveling the world gave you?
I think that first of all, getting outside of your comfort zone. That you are like, whenever you stay in hostels, for example, that's like how we met. You're like, you in a way you have to connect with other people. That's something that it's so lost, having
Yeah.
like real connections, connect with people, talk about the topics that you really care about. I think that's one of the main things. I think that it's out of your comfort zone, real connections, connecting with people. And I'm a believer that there's people that, for example, we were really fortunate that we kept in touch and we have been in each other's life, and we have been like, but we kept always like calling and in FaceTime and everything. So it's about connections. And I think that the third thing would be, we were talking yesterday about it. It's like you became your real self when you're traveling. You're happier. You do the things that you want. You're the best version of yourself. Meanwhile, traveling, and there can be different aspects of it. It's because you're like more free. You're not in your everyday routine. You're like in different scenarios outside of yours.
Do you believe in manifesting your own dreams?
Definitely. I think that I love this quote, and this is from The Alchemist. Like, whenever you have a dream, you have a goal, and you truly believe it, and you put it out there, the universe is gonna conspire for you to get that. So definitely, if you have a dream, like, just go for it. And I think that everything is gonna fit in, and everything is gonna go like how you want it. But you have to manifest that.
Yeah. And what is your mission in life?
My mission would be like how through the projects that I do, how through I can have an impact in life of other people. It doesn't matter if it's one person, if it's a group of persons, it's like a lot of people, but having an impact that what you do, the actions that you do here, have an impact in community, in women, in everything that we're talking about. So I think that for me, that would be my mission, how through business I can help back home. Like, I'm not physically in Honduras, but how can being in the UK, being abroad, I can empower, I can help, I can like transform and change lives.
And what's your purpose in life, like as a human?
I think that as a human, I would say that it's to be happy, like to enjoy the life, and as well to of course grow. But how can you help others around you to grow, to find their potential, to find, like, for example, this is like the friendship that we have. It's like we were there. How are we gonna get there? How can we, both of us, like help each other to be where we want to be? So,
Okay, finish this sentence. Being a good leader means...
being a good leader is taking care and empowering and making grow the people that work for you. I think that's like the most important thing. We have a difference between a boss and a leader. Bosses tell you what to do. You have to do this, you have to do that. But I think a leader puts like a goal and like helps you. And even if the goal is like really high, like how can you give this person the skills, the knowledge to reach that goal? So I think that's a big difference between both.
And what does it mean to be a good friend?
As I was telling you before, I think that it's helping each other like grow. It's like being, it's not, for me, being a friend is not telling someone what to do, but it's like being then like, you take your decisions, I'm here for you. That, like empowerment, that support, that, if you want to build your dreams about the company, how as a friend I can like empower you, how can I like bring ideas to the table, how can we do it together? So that's, for me, it's friendship.
Who do you look up to?
Like a friend, like a...
Anything.
Who do I look up to? I would say, I don't know if I can mention several people. I think someone that I really get inspired of is like my cousin, Salvadora. She died like 2 years ago. But I really get inspired of her because like she was a person that she didn't have a lot of money. She was like a really simple. She even had like a little of a mental disability, but she always had a smile. She always took care of everybody else, and she would give everything she had for everybody else except for herself and thinking about other people. I really look up a lot of her, and yeah.
And what did she die of?
Cancer.
So sad to hear that.
Yeah, no, but it was like 2 years ago, and like she used to live like in my house like for 20 years. So, like,
Really?
yeah.
You live together with nephews and stuff in Honduras.
So yeah, so it was like my family. It was Salvador and her 2 kids. So yeah, I grew up with her my whole life, and I think that I look a lot up to her because of that simplicity of life, that and happiness that she looked like into things. And I think that my mom and my dad inspired me so much in like business and like how can it be like that support, and my parents being such a like strong couple, like show me values, show me like what's good in life, gave me everything they wanted, and my mom by being herself, being such a free soul, like yeah.
That's so beautiful. And if you would have to recommend someone to get or to make their dreams come true, what would you tell them?
I think that you just have to go for it. Go for your dreams. Like what I do personally is like I write them on paper and I break it out into steps. And I think that the most important is just go for it. Like if you have anything that you want, it doesn't have to be related with business, but if you want to move abroad, you want to do something that you haven't done it just because, I don't know, just do it, go for it. The only thing that you have to have is that direction. You only have to have like a place you want to go, and then everything is gonna fall by itself.
I believe this to be true. Like you said, the quote of it was of the alchemist Paulo.
Paulo Coelho.
Paulo? How do you pronounce that?
Paulo Coelho. I think it's Portuguese.
Yeah, like I really do believe that things conspire together if you really wish for it, and like it's not the wishing part, but like you said, knowing where you're headed and just have that kept as a focus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this interview.
No, thank you. Thanks for like inviting me. I really appreciate you. I really am so happy that you're here in Scotland and like our friendship, and like who knows like what's gonna happen in 5 years from now. But thank you so much. I'm really, really happy you're here.
Yes, and thank you for letting me stay here. Oh, so beautiful. Love you.
Love you.
Aw, that was good.
That was good.
Thank you so much for watching this interview. I love doing the interview with Alejandro, as you could see. I hope you liked it too, so please let us know in the comments. Maybe do a thumbs up if you really liked it. And because I want to make an impact in this world, no matter how small it can be, me and Alejandro started a crowdfund to collect money for the community in Honduras. Maybe we can help children to get the things they need for school, or any bigger project we can come up with. So, if you like to contribute to that, please scan the QR code or follow the link in the description. Thank you, until next time.